go. So, but yeah, so anyway, hello and Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome to this very special episode of the Jobs Foot Podcast, brought to you by me, Mr. J. Dartmoor. And dare I say, the stars have aligned in the blue light world, because I'm joined by a team very, very fantastic, wonderful, and very, I don't know, cool guys, dare I say. Ben's inbox certainly has been full of people complimenting him today, hasn't it? 13 people are calling him the same word. You can guess what it is. It's 4 letters long, and it's anyway. So, guys, Ben Pearson and Ian Cooke from Blue Light Lifestyle, you guys say hello. Wish our wonderful colleagues on the Blue Line and in emergency services a Merry Christmas. And by the way, Ian, love the jumper.
Festive.
Very festive. I actually only put my Christmas tree up 2 days ago, and I had to have my arm twisted for that.
Ours went up in November.
Well, for fuck off, you're one of them.
Right, Ian, you go first, pal.
Well, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from me. I think that covers it pretty well.
I'd just like to say to everyone out there in the emergency services land, a big, big Merry Christmas. Thank you for everything you do. Keep doing it, keep fighting, keep pushing, and I have a happy 2026.
That was better.
Stay safe.
Yeah, well, that's why I did it, because yours were just shit.
Yeah, I mean, well, absolutely everybody stay safe as well, and make sure that, we're going to have a fun time. We're going to have a fun time in this episode. We've got some stories come through, which would be a lot of good fun. We've got some discussion points, what you guys have sent through. So I'd like to also give a big shout out to UK Cop Humour, whether you're watching it on his channel right now, on their channel, or whether you are watching it on, the Jobs Fucked YouTube or Spotify, wherever you're watching it. So I'd like to say a big thank you to them for putting this together, for making the stars align in the blue light world. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Amazing, fantastic, and wonderful. So like I said, we've got some discussion points. We've got some funny stories. One of them about a staff night out, which we always love a good staff night out story. And then we've also got some questions which yourselves have been very more than kind to send us. So brilliant. So let's go with this one first. Body-worn video and old school policing. All right, see where this is going. So I'll pitch it, guys, and then you two have a discussion, and maybe I'll weigh in wherever. So, do body cams effectively end what many would call old school policing? For example, situations where an officer might once have grabbed somebody by the scruff of the neck, told them to grow up and fuck off, and that would have been the end of it. Would the same scenario today result in an upheld complaint and potentially a gross misconduct leading to dismissal? Gents, what's your thoughts?
Do you want to go first, Ian?
I can. It probably would, wouldn't it? That's the, if you come across in any way bad on body cam now, I think the scrutiny's gone through the roof. And with auditors, they're looking for it, aren't they? And if you can, and the big thing is, mate, you're right in the fact that their main concern is to try and entice a reaction. And when you're on body cam, I think it creates, in my opinion, it creates a bit of an atmosphere, because I was in policing when we didn't have body cams, and I'm not suggesting for a second that the introduction has been bad, because I think it can save you. That's the big thing. It can.
Yeah, definitely.
You can get malicious allegations. You've got your body cam on, and it's brilliant. However, when the shit's hit the fan and you're dealing with stuff, and you've got these absolute wankers that are shouting stuff at you, and then for whatever reason, oh, mate, shut up, you prick, and it's on your body cam. You've got people that are looking at it and they're not seeing it for actually what it is, and not looking at the human element. I'm not suggesting for a second that we want people to start being, abusive to members of the public, but I think you've got to look at it as a collective, really, and look at what the circumstances are.
Body cams are very good when it comes to like an investigation standpoint as well, because, you got a victim crying in front of you. They don't want to make a complaint, but maybe it's like a serious case of DA. they can be very, very useful. And also good, like, when you're writing up your statement, like, what exactly happened, and you're writing it up that way. But at the same time, they can be friendly fire. In fact, I actually know a lad who this happened to. So he walked into a house, and it was one of those houses. We know the kind of houses we're talking about. So he walked into the house, and his mate was behind him, and they both had the body cameras on. And it's kicking the fuck off. And my mate walks in and goes, "What in the universal credit is going on in here?" Needless to say, he might want to admit that scenario from his board. Yeah, if he watches this, he'll know exactly who he is. But yeah, body cams can be a bit friendly fire at times. But why do you not get training on how to deal with auditors? That's another question I'd like to know, because I think a lot of officers, they're going about their daily business, and then they're being told, like, what's your name, what's this, what's that, got a camera in the face. I think there should be, there's that halo law, isn't there, what's been brought into America, where, isn't it, if you can't interfere within so many meters of something like that with an incident what's going on? What's your thoughts on that? Do you think, yeah, Ben, so what it is, there's certain states in America, so if the police are dealing with something, if you was to walk up to them and start recording them and start, well, why is it being locked up, or what you stop searching for, you can get locked up for it's like basic obstruction, but it's a specific, it's called like a halo law, something like that. What's your thoughts? Do you think they should have training on auditors? And do you think they should have something like that halo law over here?
Can I just jump back on to the first question first of all, if that's all right?
Of course, I'm known to go off on tangents, mate. So don't
it's fine. It's fine. So, in regards to this, what you've just said, then I don't think cameras have altered old school policing. Now, I've been out 5 years this October, so if I was still in the job, how it had been then to how it is now, like in the last 5 years, I don't know. I might be dragged over calls, I might be disciplined, I might be fired, or whatever, gross misconduct, or whatever it was. But ever since I joined traffic, we've had a high video in car. So back in 2004, we had a video in car when no one else had videos, which were recorded whatever we said in car anyway. We used to photograph everything. When we went to it, we had obviously a digital camera in traffic, so everything went to a photographed. So we were on the early stage of recording stuff regardless. And then again, when you've got a Channel 5 camera stuck in your face all the time, it doesn't alter how you are as a bobby. And knowing that there's millions of people could be tuning in and watching it, I never once at that point changed my behaviour because there's a camera there. I will always be me, and I were always me. So when they've got body-worn cameras on, it's about switching it on at the right point. So there were times when you didn't have to switch it on, and you were having a conversation just with Mrs. Durham and Mrs. Miggins. Then you'd meet Billy Joe Shitbag on the street, and you'd be just chatting about different stuff. And again, you didn't need to switch it on. It were only when you thought something's either going to kick off or something's going to be evidential that you'd switch it on. And that's not you breaking the law, and that's not you sitting around doing stuff underhand. It's just that you think, well, if working at Bradford, it'd be on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there was not enough data to store that stuff. So you get out of the car and you could have meetings, chats with all sorts of shitbags, drug runners, criminals, and nothing were evidential because they wouldn't want it evidential either. So you'd be like, are you just saying that hello or whatever it is, and they wouldn't be bothered, and you're not doing a stop check, you're not doing a stop search, you're not doing a Form A, you're not doing anything. So I never altered that. And let me give you one instance, and I'm going to lead on this two ways now. When body-worn cameras first got brought in, there were we had a pursuit in Bradford, and this car tried to run me and my colleague over. It made off. We had a bit of a pursuit, but it dumped a load of stuff out windows of the car. Anyway, where we went back were a heavily populated Asian area. We pulled back into where this car's been dumped. We've asked for all these other units to come because it's all gone a bit pear-shaped and all X, Y, and Z. The first thing is, two Asian lads across the road start shouting, go fuck your mother, white this, white that. And again, just Bradford, it didn't bother me. Not bother me in slightest. And I didn't put my camera on because I thought it's just how you get spoken to on a day-to-day basis. It's not, I'm not interested, I'm not locking anyone, I'm not doing anything. So doing all this stuff, and this banter started getting really, really abusive then about I'm going to effing do this to you, effing do that for you, yeah, and it was racial and blah, blah, blah. So I says, come over here and say that. And then he started walking across the road. So then I switched camera on, And I went, if you come over, you're most likely going to get locked up. Stay over the other side of the road. And then he carried on with his swearing X, Y, and Z. And he got to that gap. You know, there's a certain gap where you think, if I'm going to run, he's going to run and I'm never going to catch him because he's a lot lighter than me, a lot thinner than me, and whatever. So I'm thinking, am I gauging this gap right? Am I going to have to gauge it? If I set off running now, am I going to gauge it right? And I was saying, just stay. And I will literally, as professional as I can, please stay back, go away. We're not interested, go away, go away. And by this time, there's 10 bobbies all with the cameras on, all around the streets, but we've all got that little bit of a gap where no one knows who's going to try and get in first. And then he's turned, and as he's turned, I thought, right, I'm on. So as I set off running, under my breath, I've actually gone, fucking get some. But it's only because it's like a boost to power. And I don't know if that would come from me saying, go on, Ben. You know, like, go on, get it. But it went, fucking get some. And I went head down, fucking. And I've hit him like a rugby tackle, and he's gone down on the floor, cuffed him, locked him up. And it's on camera, him calling me effing this, effing that, you white, this, I'm going to rape, so I'm going to do it. This is gone on for 10 minutes. And then first thing that gets brought up, when it goes into in cells, and then I go back up to state, let's see your body on camera. So they show it all, and they're going, this language is disgusting, this is disgusting, over and racial aggravated, this, that, and other. And also you hear me on camera going, fucking get some. And I tackle this lad to the floor. And I'm like, everyone's like, you're not going to be able to run this. You're not going to run this as a job. They're going to hang you out at court. They're going to fucking do. So I just put in my statement. I said, fucking get some. And I charged at him. Because I'm not lying about what I'm saying. I'm fucking telling him all. And if I'd have found him on floor and I shouted, stay down, you cunt, I'd have put it in my statement. Fucking stay down. Because I'm speaking to them on an issue, on the same level as they're speaking to me. And it's saying when we're on interceptors, traffic cops, it's never bothered me. And it will never bother me. I think all the days of where people would say, I'm not being funny, but I'm going to put that down drain for your drugs or whatever it is so you don't get prosecuted and you can go now rather than see stuff. I think all those days are gone. I can't remember the days when people, obviously I remember the times, the years, but I can't remember the days when people like used to pull someone down the other way and give them a slap. That were in the 80s. We were joining 2001. Those days weren't about.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's changed. I think what you said, it's done brilliantly for protecting those bobbies, and it's given the correct evidence at the correct time. So the reason I've said this is, do you remember when you had me on your podcast, Jay, and you sent me the thing saying the auditors then have got hold of our podcast and then listen to it? And then Jay gave me some details, Ian, and everyone that's listening, of a set of auditors that will probably listen to this one, and then they pick apart every part of your story. And there's an auditor sat picking apart we've got this Ben Pearson, we don't know who he is, we don't know his accreditation, we don't know, and he's giving you some stories that we probably think they're all probably fake. Well, they're all on fucking TV. And so the people that are on the opposite side, like you're saying, on to the auditors, now, they make up their own rules, they make up their own thoughts, they make up their own reasoning, and no matter what you say, they've always got the narrative. So if you can have your camera on, no matter what they do, they'll still change it to be on their side. What they should be, you're on about this halo law or whatever, I just use obstruct, and I always have used obstruct or breach of peace, whatever. They get too close, to get told to go away. I'm dealing with something. I can't look at 8 people with cameras on, get back or you get locked up. But the police, the heads of the police, the Home Office, it should be, just don't speak to them, don't engage with them, don't look at them, don't speak to them, don't give them your number. They're out for trouble. And you just don't, it's simple as you just do not do it. And then they'll sit there now and listen to me going, who's this lad that will pick away what I'm saying now? And everybody across the UK is going to be wrong and stuff like that. But they're not there to hold officers account. They're there to go to security industries. They're there to go to, you've seen them outside wagon loading bays and then flying drones over private. It's not about that. It's just trying to get a reaction on TV or a reaction on their YouTube for hits and then for numbers. They're not bothered about anything else. So it should be, if you're a member of public, a proper member of public says, excuse me, officer, can I saw? Yeah, it's not a problem. Oh, can I have your name? Yeah, it's PC Pearson, 1965, based out of Bradford. But if someone comes, stand down, officer, you know, I demand to know your name is, go fuck yourself. And now that person who's going to listen to this is going, listen to this professional officer. Yeah, I'm still a man. Go fuck yourself. I'm risking my life for members of the public. I'm getting knocked over. I'm going into house fires. I'm doing everything. that you're not. I'm tackling knife men. I'm tackling burgers at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not answering to your stupid questions. Piss off. And I think, yeah, if I were in a job now, I probably would get arrested. But the way I see it, go on, Ian.
The only reason these people have got any sort of airtime is because policing's too weak to tell them.
Yeah, exactly.
The people at the top are allowing these ridiculous things to happen. What we should be saying is, you know what, if you're going to put a camera or a phone in our officers' faces, we're going to support our officers. But they don't. And the people out there know that they can probably do it, and because policing's scared of its own shadow at times, it worries about, well, we've actually got to do something here. We've probably got to hold the officers account rather than actually going, you know what, you've been a little bit of a bellend there. Why are you doing it? Why are you trying to, entice the officers? They're there trying to do the right thing, trying to keep the public safe, and all you're interested in is getting views and clicks. And as a police service, we should be, the people at the top should be saying, you know what, let's support our officers, but they don't.
Well, exactly. It was a cop in Merseyside, and it was someone there with a fucking phone in the face and stuff. And it went viral, and he turned round. The cop just turned round and went, "Why are you recording people around the street? It's a bit nonsense, that, isn't it?" And then she just turned round. Yeah. I imagine that officer didn't have the best time following, because then there was internal investigation stuff. And I believe the chief constable turned around and went, "Yeah, the cop did that wrong." Basically, like, we back the officers. And I won't lie, mate, I was a bit shocked. I was like, wow, nice to see a boss who sticks the neck out for cops, because no doubt then that officer, the chief con, whoever investigated it, the senior officer, probably would have got a bit of flack for that. But, I mean, no, good on you, because is it better to piss off one or two people who don't like the police, or to show the rest of your force that the slightest slip of the tongue, you're going to be hauled over the coals? Like, it breeds in a career which is stressful, full of high intensity, sometimes life or death situations, where, you know what, you might slip of the tongue, you might, like you said, Ben, you're running, you said get some. All right, so fucking what? You don't want to create an area of fear in the people who you're then going to ask to go out and risk their lives to look after the very same people who want to condemn them. So, but no, I think
99% of all people, all good normal people, would be like, what are these people doing around streets trying to antagonise these bobbies? Now, don't get me wrong, if an officer stepped out of line, if an officer did something wrong, if an officer were caught breaching his powers, or an officer caught doing something being racial, homophobic, assaulting someone, that officer needs to be dealt with, dragged over the coals, and either kicked out of the force, sentenced, and sent to prison. But if I'm locking someone up for an aggravated robbery, or a burglary, or a car theft after a pursuit, and I'm wrestling Billy Joe shitbag because he's fought and he's kicked off, and I'm rolling, and then I turn around and there's a bloke with a camera 1 inch from my face, that camera's getting smacked out of his hand, and he's getting told to fuck off and get back. And if he don't, he's getting dragged to the floor, because I don't know what's going on with them. And my main concern is going home to see my kids on a night. And I don't know if this person's armed. I don't know why they've run. Stay back, let them do the job, and then once they've done the job and it's all settled, go over and say, "All right, officer, what's going on?" "Oh, right, we've just done this, this, and this." But when the action is going on that they'll never experience, they'll never be part of, they'll never understand, and they'll say, "Well, you should be professional and you shouldn't be in job." And that, well, you are professional, and that's why you're saying get back, because you're protecting yourself and your colleagues. How many auditors have been shot and killed? How many officers have been stabbed and killed, run over and killed on duty being an auditor? How many auditors get injured and get paralysed, get legs cut off? How many? None. Because they just don't do it. They don't ever put themselves at risk. But police officers do it all the time. Just stay back, let them do the job, and once they've done the job, ask the questions, and it's that simple. Dicks.
Yeah. You can also make the argument when it talks about body-worn footage. You don't know how many incidents that's actually stopped, because people know they're being recorded. So it's like, oh, it's no longer, I can just argue back against the Bob. It's like, oh no, I'm on camera front and centre here. It's that effect of, you're being recorded, that everything you say and do is currently being captured. So it does make you a bit more wary. It's like, I got pulled over the other day. I think I had a headlight out or something like that. Absolutely fine. But even though I've been in the police, and I was in the police for a long time, and I was perfectly fine chatting to a bobby, the fact they've got a camera on, it makes you just a bit more conscious of the things you say and do. So as a member of the public who maybe wants to cause issues, I'd like to think that potentially, if you know there's a camera on you at all times, when you're interacting with an officer, you're less likely to cause issues. So there is the argument there to say that potentially has reduced crime or reduced incidents as well. There's always that argument. So, yeah, right. Very good. Okay. So I've got another one here. Discussion points. Policing does its very best, but you simply can't save everyone. I imagine you two gentlemen might have something to say on this one. The NHS seems to accept this reality more readily, recognising that people ultimately make their own decisions about their own lives. Policing, by contrast, has become so obsessed with accountability and blame that officers often go far beyond what is reasonable to pander to people who are clearly playing the system. It's a difficult debate, but if someone claims to be suicidal every single day of the week and repeatedly climbs onto a bridge causing police deployments, road closures, and significant disruption, what should the appropriate response be? Ben, do you want to, Ian, do you want to take the lead on that one first, pal?
You'll never be able to stop it, because the moment that you decide not to go and they do it, you're going to be all down with the coals. It's like a no-win situation. I remember really early on in my career, we get called out to the same people all the time. And it'd get frustrating because you probably knew what the outcome was going to be. However, you also knew that at some point there probably would need it to be some action. And if you decide not to go because they're a pain in the arse and then something does happen, ultimately you're just leaving the service in a really big sticky spot. Do I think we should be going out to every mental health incident? Probably not. I don't think that's required. I think that the drain on the service is absolutely ridiculous. However, there are certain circumstances where I think we have to attend. For example, someone being violent.
Go on. It might have disappeared, but I'm still here, pal.
Well, there might be, circumstances where someone's been violent, and I think then, there's obviously a need for us to go and protect. Well, I say us, the police to go and protect members of the public, and also themselves, really. But if it's a case of, somebody's in their own home, sometimes I do wonder whether other organisations could take the lead rather than it being a policing matter. But it's a really, really difficult conversation to kind of have. And I know I talk about police leadership a lot, but that's something that I think is a real difficult one for them, because the moment that they step back, you might be leaving the door open a little bit for a little bit of criticism. And yeah, you've got to be strong in that criticism and be able to back it up. But I think it's quite a challenging thing. I think there's certain circumstances, yes, you go. Other circumstances where I don't think it's unreasonable to turn around to other agencies and say, look, I think this is one for you. If it does develop, you carry on and call us. But if not, it's on you.
I think that's very good, Ian. So me and you have had this conversation before about this, and I think the police now is made because of society has made them that way. It is that simple. We have to answer every single call because society has made it that way. So let's just go on this aspect. Bloke says he's going to jump off top of a bridge and then land up road. Just don't go. You just don't go at all. Not to a place. And then he jumps, right, we sweep him up, and then that's it, we're done. So if we did that, if we get called out to a suicide and to jump off the bridge or onto a road and they do it and we don't turn out. So let's just say they do it. Well, what happens then? So we sweep the body up, body goes to mortuary, no investigation because it's done and dusted, and that's it. We go out, we get involved, we deal with the job how we should do, we talk them down, whatever, it ties up the police and it'll tie up the ambulance and it ties up X, Y, and Z. You can't win, like Ian was saying, you can't win on whatever you do, but society has made the police this way, and society has made the police at the bottom of the pile. So no matter what, you go to an RTC. After fire brigade have done, they sign it over to police. Paramedics have done, they sign it over to police. Highways have done, they sign it over to police. Then it's just always the police at the bottom of the pile. If there's a horse in the road, as we know, Jay, don't we? If there's a horse in the road, first thing to do is phone traffic cops. And it's like, well, why is it my job? Because there's a horse in the road. It's like you are the garbage disposal unit of society. It's the police. So just change it the other way around now. Imagine the police didn't turn out for anything apart from an ongoing theft of motor vehicle, burglary, rape, murder, Section 18 assault, stabbing, something of that nature. They just didn't turn out. They answered phone. Hello, we've got a jump on bridge. Phone ambulance. Put phone down. Hello, we've got so-and-so. We don't know where Mary is. We've not seen her. Well, ring an ambulance or ring fire brigade. Not to do with us. Imagine if that's the stance that the police took, the calls that had been reduced. I mean, I've heard it from a certain number of people, and I'm not saying this, so don't judge me on it, but I'm telling you that everything's recorded now. Everything's. Why are you laughing, Ian? Think I'm going to drop myself in it? Everything.
When you said, I'm telling you, I was thinking, there's going to be quite a few people listening to this as well, so you're telling them.
Yeah, but everyone knows, all bobbies will know across the UK, everything's recorded. So you can ring police now and say, Casper the Ghost has beat me up in my house, then got a candlestick and rogered me with it, and you put a crime on. And you put a crime
I know a
on
lad
for
who had to
someone...
put a crime on that a lady said she'd been raped by God. And God then existed on our system as a celestial being, as a suspect.
So you've got, and people will be listening to this and going, what a fucking... No, this is what I'm saying. So you've got to put a crime on, and then it's sent to a bobby to investigate, because you can't prove that Casper the Ghost didn't happen. And then assault the person, roger him with a candlestick. So it's like, rather than saying, come on, get a grip of yourself, or whatever, you've put yourself at the bottom of the ladder to have all this shit come on top of you, where people should be ringing the police and saying, I've got someone in my house now, or yes, I've been raped, or whatever, and you turn out to it, but we can't because we're too busy looking for Casper, or we're too busy looking for God for this offence. There needs to go back to a certain way of policing where you police by not only your knowledge, your intelligence, old school policing values of where you think, has this actually gone on? Is this a real thing? A proper job. But if you go to someone shopping and he says, I've just been burgled, but where? All doors locked, all windows are locked. What's been taken? Oh, I've had £1 million in that car, whatever, in my house taken. Well, where was it? Well, it was just in this. Well, can you show me receipt for money or whatever? Well, no. And you're thinking, well, I've got to put a crime on. And any member of the public is going to look at this and say, that's a waste of time. We know it's a waste of time. They know it's a waste of time. But society has made us come to an agreement where we've now got to record crime because everyone's mourning that we don't record crime. So until society changes, and society, like you said, has to get a grip of itself, take responsibility for its own actions, the police is never going to change. I said to Ian on another podcast we did, the police now needs to be a force, not a service. We are not a service. The police are there, and always have been, to investigate and arrest and detect crime. We are not there to make sure your mother can get from A to B. We are not there to make sure you've had a night out in Leeds and because you say you're going to kill yourself, we'll pick you up in a taxi and take you home. We are not there for that. The police is not there. The police is there once 999 calls, and when you've got a bloke in your house with a balaclava on saying, give me your car keys, I'm going to stab you, that's what the police deal with. But until responsibility is given back to the shops, to look after themselves, for members of the public to be aware of what's going on around them rather than blaming every other person on the sun and everyone else, crime recording, nothing at all is ever going to change. And back to what I said about shoplifters, security guards now are not even entitled to challenge anyone. Tesco's hit and run. You've seen it at Greg's hit and run and everything like that. A security guard in my day were there to detain the shoplifter, tackle them to the floor, put them in a back room, you get there, statement would be done, and you lock up. Now security guards are just observers. So why don't you just pay for an observer? Why don't you get Mrs.
Why do you need a security guard?
With an iPhone? Why do you need yeah. So until these shops start stepping up and now taking responsibility and having the fact that the security guards are here to tackle you, throw you to the floor and put you in an office until police come, that'll start deterring shoplifters as well. But they can't because everyone's gone softly. Too lefty, everything's a snowflake, and everyone's there to mourn. And as soon as they mourn, you put your hands up and say, I'm sorry I've offended you. And until that changes, policing won't ever change. God, I'm enjoying this tonight.
Hey, having a proper cathartic, mate. Yeah, the issue is as well is that a lot of the people who, just going back to the original point about a person on the bridge, if it's a consistent person, the chances are they've probably got some kind of maybe personality disorder. They maybe got some kind of a UPD or BPD. So it's, for want of a better phrase, attention seeking a lot of the time, because what they do is they will stand on a bridge, and I've seen it. They will stand there chatting to the mate, and as soon as they see those blue lights come around the corner, they'll then climb on the other side. They'll then be there for hours and hours, causing all kinds of mayhem, all kinds of destruction. Then the reason why we'd go to that is, one, to preserve life and want to look after people, but also then we put in all the referrals and all the assistance in place as well for the mental health services. Some people don't want the help. Some people, if they, for whatever reason, abandonment issues or whatever, if someone is consistently getting the support from the services, they feel helped, they feel wanted. As soon as they start to show signs of improvement and back away, the feelings of abandonment come back. So then they relapse and they continue the same behavior again. So by allowing the police and the services to constantly keep on going to these people, it actually makes them stay in that cycle. We're rewarding the behavior because of all the support and, you know, everything else what they get as a result of that. So there's that aspect of it as well. But I mean,
can I just jump in on something you said there, Jay?
Yeah, go on.
You said about the person on the edge of the barrier and seeing the police jump off. Now, people are going to listen to this. Members of the public are not going to understand what we're on about here. But I have been to hundreds. In fact, I'm going to say probably over 500 suicidal jobs in theory. And I've probably been to 100 that are legitimate suicidal jobs, whether they've done it or not done it, but they're legitimate suicide jobs. We as bobbies know the difference because it's the people we deal with all the time, and it's why they want us. You came across as the right little bit on that thing saying like, oh, so-and-so, they'll jump up, and there's someone outside who'll go, that's uncaring. No, it's not uncaring. It's how it's based is that we deal with certain people all the time. I might get called and say, oh, Canel, it's Jay again. And you get there, and Jay's having a laugh with his mate, taking piss. But the ones who jumped, we know the poorly. The ones who were on the edge, I've been with so many that have been on edge and jumped. And you're trying to talk. We know the difference in the jobs. The unknown members of the public, the Darren who works in accounting, and he's just had enough. He's broken that day. Like when I was poorly as well, and he had a knife on my wrist. They don't care. It's gone. What we're trying to discuss here are the members of the public that we have the phone call over and over again. They get there, they laugh at us. They know also that they're going to get a bed for night. They're going to get a hot meal for night. They're going to get where Dave, the accountant's been waiting several months to see a therapist. They know they're going to see one in the next 2 hours. It's like I said, it's jumping. It's using the program for their own benefits. And they're the ones, like you said, that we need to be cutting down on. They're the ones that we are on about. We're not on about the ones that are mentally ill and the ones that are really, really poorly. So sorry about that. I need to jump in and just clarify because like these auditors,
some of the fucking clip that.
Yeah.
No, I completely get it. I mean, I went to one and it wasn't even they rang in. They were on top of a big ass, very tall bridge, which if you jumped off it, you're not just hurting your ankles. It's a one-way trip that. And we got there and it wasn't even a case of he'd rang it in. It was someone driven past and seen him on the edge. And I just walked over to him and went, do you want to chat? And as soon as he saw me, he got off and he had a chat. Mate, I put him in the car. The guy just started breaking down, crying his eyes out. You know what I mean? So they're the kind of jobs where you go, all right, someone actually really needs support. Never heard of him again. So I'd like to think he got that support and he got what he needed, and he didn't take that ultimate thing. But a lot of the suicides I went to, never. You'd never. They've never rang. They've never called the police. They've never. It's them people who they're not known to the services whatsoever. Like they're the people that you hope that you can get there when they have taken the tablets and maybe they think, I've just taken a fucking mouthful of whatever. I need you to, they have that feeling of regret. They're the ones who you're happy to break down the door and get to the ambulance and give them a lift. But someone who's every other weekend getting pissed because, they're an alcoholic and then they're taking up 6 hours of police's time a night because they're saying they're going to top themselves, but they won't go to hospital. and then you just end up sleeping it off, and then you repeat it again and again and again. Like, yeah, the person's clearly ill. We're not the best service for that. That is a
No,
mental
not to
health
the police for
service.
that.
That's an
Yeah.
addiction service. It's a ambulance service. And, you know, like you said, you can come across as very cold, but it's not a case of that. It's a case of when you've only got so much empathy to give as a human being, you want to make sure it's going to the right people, because then you might get to a job because you've been to 10 people on a bridge that month. You might get to a job and you might not be compassionate to the right person. So we want to make sure we're going to the right people. Oh, there was somebody else sent something in. It actually ties onto this quite well. Do you think that there should be well, they mentioned, should there be a fourth 999 service specifically for mental health, whether they are police officers or they have warranted powers? So obviously you've got ambulance, fire and police. Should there be a fourth one for mental health? Because what this person said in what they sent me is a lot of what the police deal with is, like you said, it's people, it's not a crime what's been committed, but it's somebody in distress. Do you think that should be something which maybe services should look at in introducing that fourth one?
Well, I'll just quickly add, because I know there's quite a few forces that have got like mental health teams. You know, that are
We used to have one.
specific. Yeah, so you know, there'd be 6-7 officers with a supervisor, you know, that would deal with it, and you'd have to call them and tell them about the job, and then they come out, which kind of defeats the object a little bit, because if they're busy, you're still dealing with it, and you'd have to phone them and tell them all about the incident. They'd have to go away, do a bit of research, then they'll decide whether they'll come out or not. Oh, mate, I think it's like really like a lot more simple than all this. It's just the fact that the job just need to be stronger. You need to have stronger leadership to be able to turn around and go, you know what, we are not going to be dealing with this. The supervisors in the room, that are the control room supervisors, that are consistently knowing that these people are calling. But the reason why they won't do it is because they are petrified of what the job will do to them. That's the reason why. This is why.
What if they jump?
Yeah,
you know,
and that's the problem. Is the fact that the job has consistently let people down by not allowing them to have, like Ben mentioned earlier, a bit of common sense. And yet, you know what? Sometimes common sense doesn't work, and sometimes it will go wrong. But if you remove all of people's ability to think for themselves, we create what we've got now, and it's robots. Response police officers will tell you straight, they're not proactive police officers. What they are is they go out, they go to job to job to job, they fill in forms and they go home, and then the next day they do exactly the same again. And if they are going to shout up for jobs, you know what's going to happen? The controllers are going to turn around. Not the controllers' fault, by the way, but the controllers are going to think, well, they're free, so we'll send them another job. It creates a problem where everybody's scared to death to do anything, and now we've got robots, and the people that are in the controller supervisors, they're robots, because all they're bothered about is clearing the screen in front of them. They're worried about, well, if I don't make this decision, what's it going to happen? The people above them, you know, the SLT, the exec teams, they're not bothered about how many bobbies are doing stuff. All they're bothered about is, are we looking good? Are we looking good as a service?
Does that
And the reality,
number
what we
look
should
good
be
on that
saying,
spreadsheet?
yeah. And are we going to get criticised? That's all they're bothered about. Whereas what we should be doing as a police service is accepting the fact that we can't please everybody. You're not going to please everybody, and we need to accept it and go, you know what, we're probably going to annoy a few people, but we're doing it for the greater good here. Because if we don't, we're going to let some real, genuine people that need the police down, and that's what happens. You know, you go to an A&E tonight. I guarantee there'll be more police cars there than there'll be ambulances. Fact. You know,
it's like,
go on, mate. Sorry.
No, it's just what you said. Then it's just touched a massive nerve inside me. I wanted to shout when you said then about looking good, and I'm like, again, who the fuck do we have to look good to?
Yeah, well,
this is what I'm saying. Who do we have to look? It's like saying SAS. Who do you have to look good to? And for what? I don't get it, because, like you said, as long as you're doing the right thing, that's what gets me. As long as the police are doing the right thing, SLT, ACCs, the chief shouldn't be bothered about anyone else's issues, because we all know that 99% of people are good people and don't want the police either bothering, they'll witness a burglary outside, balaclavas on, and they'll go, oh, shall we ring 101 maybe? Shall we do? Because they've never run police and they don't know how to deal with it. And you've got that 1% of the population that fucking moan, kick off, fucking waste the police time. And when you said then, I'm like, again, why do we have to please these people who it should be? I don't give a fuck about offenders brought to justice numbers. I don't give a fuck if we've had too many burglaries in the area or whatever. As long as my bobbies are going out there and they are getting the bad guys and they are doing X, Y, and Z, it shouldn't be. We shouldn't have to pander to anyone. And like you said, they'll rather pander to people than get the job right. And again, it's like you said, I'm sure I told you about that death in custody, Jay, because that auditor picked up on it. And he told me, or he was saying on that thing that I read about, listen to it, he sent me, I'll tell you, Ian. And he went, well, we don't know if this is right. Can this be traced? So we had a death in custody at Keighley, and I can't remember the job because every day I get more and more tired and I forget stuff. But simple fact, he was locked up and he was released the next morning. And I think it was a breach at peace or something like. Anyway, leaves custody. He's fine. He's sober. No issues at all. Nothing to do with the police. He walks about 1.5 miles up road. Decides to cross him like 20 metres or whatever from a crossing or wherever it was. Gets hit by a car and gets killed. Death in police custody. You're a grown fucking adult. How is that death in police custody? Why should that custody sergeant be investigated? It should be, you're a grown adult. Simple fact is, you've left the police station. At what point do we have to wipe your ass for you? At what point do people have to take responsibility for their own decisions in life? It's like, sorry mate, 2 seconds. It's just like I put a video out on TikTok.
I'm going to throw a ball.
Fucking off. I'm on one now. I put a video out on TikTok about pursuits, and the amount of comments from the dickhead generation that'll say stuff like, you shouldn't be able to pursue. Look at him, you're making him drive faster. He's wanted for fucking Section 18 wounding. He's in a stolen car with no insurance and no licence. Of course he's going to go 130 mile an hour in a 20 zone. It's not do it, police. Well, you're encouraging him to drive dangerously. It's all police's fault, this. And you're thinking like, take responsibility. They're a criminal. And then when he crashes the car and that police shouldn't have been pursuing him, you're like, get a grip of yourself. I'm going to get kicked off this podcast in a minute. If I were Prime Minister, I would make it that if anyone assaulted the police, if you put your blue lights on and you made off, you are fully responsible. These parents that go buy their kids a Suron at 18 and then electric motorbike, knowing it's a legal bike because you get told when you buy it, the seat police, they make off and they hit a car and die, it's police's fault. Is it fuck the police's fault? It's the parents' fault. And it's the kids' fault. People need to get a grip of themselves, take responsibility, and stop blaming the police for everything goes wrong. I'm done. I'm leaving. Fuck off.
There would be that's a proper mic drop moment. There would be a shit ton less stuff go wrong if people had extreme ownership. The good, the bad, the fucking ugly, what happens in their life. Extreme ownership. I fucked up here. This end result of me crashing my car is a result of consecutive choices that I have made. Yeah, okay, you might have had a shit childhood, mate. You might have had bad stuff happen to her. Fucking plenty of cops have had bad things happen to them. Plenty of normal people walking around have had horrendous things happen to them. They didn't turn into criminals. You can't blame society for how you're now acting as an adult. And there's got to be, like Ben said, mate, there's got to be a degree of that where you go, right, I'm a grown adult. Right, I've broken my leg because I've crashed my car running from the police because I've just fucking smashed up someone's house trying to get something, like trying to rob something. Why is that the Bobby's fault? Obviously, if the cops get told stand down and it's dangerous and stuff like that, and the Bobby goes, fuck it, I'm going anyway, then there's a bit of a difference there. But if everything's above board, everything's all right, and this poor member of the public, who's made their own choices, crashes the car, and, because they could potentially fucking kill someone as well. And what is that? Is that the police's fault? Because they'd chosen to get behind the wheel of a car, coked off the tits, fucking fleeing, and then they've crashed the car and hurt somebody. Is that the police's fault? But it's always, what did the police do?
Have you seen that they're blaming the New South Wales police now, that they should have dealt with those 2 terrorists quicker? And there's people saying that they didn't do the job properly, even though the two bobbies that have been shot in the front, not in the back, from running off because they were going towards the danger, not fleeing from the danger. But people now are saying, well, no, you 6.5 minutes and you could have done better, even though they've got long-range weapons and power weapons and the bobbies have gone in with handguns. And again, now the bobbies are to blame for a religious terrorist organisation and a mass killing. It's
I didn't
Bobby's
know
fault.
that. That's really
it's
fucking
all over
annoyed me.
news. I'm just like, everything is the police's fault. And people are in this mindset now of everyone should blame everybody else for what's going on. And no, they need to look at themselves, look at how they are as a person, look at what they're bringing into the world and what they're bringing to the table. And if they're only bringing negativity, they're only bringing crime, they're only bringing shit's going to come down on you. You'll end up in a stolen car, on its roof, in a river, losing a leg. And it is your own responsibility when you get in that car at 18, 19, 20 with Billy Burglar, who you know is a burglar, you know you're going to go out to do bad stuff, you have responsibility for yourself. There's no one else to blame. And if you wrap that car around a tree at 130 miles an hour when that driver's not stopped, I'm sorry, parents, but it's not to do with police.
Go on, Ian. You've been chomping at the bit to get in, mate.
Well, my bomb was, Ben, you said, why do the police always want to make themselves look good? It's because it's become too political. That's the reason why, because all we're interested in is we've got people at the top that are answerable to politicians now. I mean, we've got this absolutely absurd kind of thought process at the minute. And this is when people are saying, oh, well, the policing's not political. I'll tell you now it is, and I'll show you why it is. Because they're looking to go, the new Home Secretary is presiding over reducing 43 forces to 12. She's got no reason to be doing that. She's got no idea about policing at all. But what will happen is that we'll give these people, and this is what policing does, what we do is we put people in positions, and because they've got a rank, we go, oh, you can look after this, with absolutely no idea what they're doing. And then we've got an Home Secretary that is going to be looking, and probably a policing minister that will be looking at it and going, oh, where can we save money? I know what we'll do is we'll reduce everything down and try and nationalise or whatever they're going to look to do, go from 43 to 12. And it's become political. We've got chief constables that are, turning around and going, oh, I'm not going to get involved. And then 3 days later, they're in front of a committee answering questions about policing. Well, clearly he's political, and then that's the problem. And that's why policing is in the mess it's in, because we're answering to the wrong people. Yes, of course, it has to be a case of we have to have accountability. Everybody does. But you've got these PCCs that have offered nothing to policing at all. Some have been better than others. Of course, there's always going to be better people that have done better jobs. But the moment that you placed the PCC to be in charge of, policing budgets and stuff, that was crazy. They've got no idea what they're doing. They've never done it. And then the other thing is that you mentioned earlier, you said, that police contact thing. So we've got a person that's left custody and has decided to do whatever they've done. And we'll definitely have those figures, but what we definitely won't have figures of is their police suicides. And that's the absolute disgrace of everything. So we're quite happy to monitor them, but what we aren't happy to monitor is the officers and staff that are killing themselves. One, because they have been let down with the job whilst through an investigation, or it's just the fact they've done it whilst they're serving. To me, that is absolutely disgraceful. That highlights where the disparities in policing.
Fucking well said. Very well said, mate. Very well said. What's your thoughts on that? 12 to fucking the 40 odd to 12 super forces. Personally, speaking from my own experience of some of the supervision I had before, I think giving them more power would be quite dangerous, because they were very power hungry and would frankly do anything to get one higher rung up the ladder, to get an extra crown or an extra fucking pip or wreath or whatever. So I personally don't think it'd be a good idea. I think you'd be giving the wrong people who are in these senior leadership positions, who have gotten there via stepping on people, and the decisions they make things worse for everybody else, what makes them look better. I don't think allowing them to have a bigger range of influence is a good thing. But that's just me.
Well, I don't. I can't get my head around why you change it. Oh, look, I'm new manager of Ford, and there's a Ford Ranger over there. Well, let's give it 2 wheels instead of 4. Why would you just change something when let's give it a door at the front where its bonnet is? Let's just do it because I can. Why do people have to need to feel to change something? Like chief constables, when they get in, oh, we're going on this shift pattern now. But why? Because I said so. Why can't things just be left alone? And one of the things you said then, Ian, about it was to save money. And why is it always got to be about saving money? And I know we've got a budget, but why do we have a budget? Why does the fact of to keep UK safe need to have a budget? That's what, if you give hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds to foreign countries, why have we still got veterans that are homeless? Why have we still got, like I said, old people that can't pay the bills? Why should the emergency service, police, ambulance and fire have a budget? Because if we've got 1,000 houses burning down every single year and we've only got 25 fire tenders, and then every year we're going, we've got another 1,000 buildings burning down tomorrow. Well, shouldn't we have like more fire tenders? Oh no, we're not going to invest in that. We shouldn't have. I'm not saying we should have them all lined up on a runway not being used, but you should have the infrastructure for the people you're dealing with. And society's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Crime's getting more and more violent. People are going off the radar and off the grid so much. We've lost tourism completely. So why we have a budget in policing now is just completely not bewildering to me. The main thing we should have is MI5, MI6, and the police invested in, not taken away from. We should have invested in, because everybody, and I mean everybody from your mum, your dad, your auntie, your uncle, all the people who went to school, every person just wants to feel safe. And all people say, oh, it's nanny state, it's getting like Terminator, it's getting like... No, I want to be able to, my 12-year-old daughter, walk to school and walk back without fear of being mugged, raped, kidnapped. And at the moment, I don't feel like that. I just don't feel like... I'm 6'2". I've studied my stats all my life. I'm a former copper. I'm a big lad. It doesn't bother me. I went filming in London for mate. I came out of my hotel. 2 lads on Surrens rode past me at night time with balaclavas on. They saw me, turned back round, come towards me, and then they must thought, well, shall we bother? Give it a miss. And for the first time in my 49 years, this one always when I saw you, Ian, for the first time in 49 years, I thought, I don't feel safe here. I don't like this at all. And this is me in London, and I'm thinking, like, what is going on? Why are we living in these worlds? Shouldn't it be where it's just all nice, where you come out and you don't have to feel like you're going to be a victim? And when you say get more police, everyone's like, oh, it's a nanny state, Big Brother's watching and so. Well, all the people that say that are criminals because they don't want the police there. So invest in your police force, leave the forces how they are, and invest in your emergency services. And the only reason people are leaving is because the job's not fit for purpose. They're not paid enough. We've seen with doctors at the moment, police, ambulance and fire, no one's paid enough to do the job that we do. And those days are gone. So unless they restructure the joining process, give better wages, it's only just going to get worse.
It's the glue what holds society together, though. Like, emergency services are massively taken for granted. You mentioned there about police pay. I did some research on this, and it's something like since 2010, police pay has gone down in real terms by about 20%, which means bobbies now have to do more, often with less, for less pay. And even I was speaking to a cop in the Met, and they told me about something what's referred to now as a healthy churn of officers. So it's cops now. They're only expected to do about 4 years before they move on. People like you two, I mean, I had 10 years then, but Ben, you had what, 18? And Ian, you 19. Had about 18? 19, yeah. So, just under 2 decades of service. Fucking hell, you'll be an absolute relic now. Because, and the way they view it is, by 4 years, they paid for the training. They're not on top pay. We don't have to, they're not a continuous expense once they retire from the pension. So it's like even the people who are in charge of the cops on the ground, who go out and do the proper work and actually look after people, aren't even viewing them as a valuable resource. So if the people in the service aren't doing that, why the fuck are the government going to do it? And not only that, I had a similar instance with you, Ben. I mean, I didn't get approached by anybody, but I mean, I went to London the other week, and it was a nice part of London. And I walked out the hotel, and the place we needed to go to was about a 20-minute walk. And I said to my missus, I was like, "We're getting an Uber. We're fucking not walking." Because, and you shouldn't feel like that. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't feel worried to walk down the street. I mean, I'm like you, Ben. I've got a young son, similar age to yours, 12 years old. I'm constantly fucking checking on his Find My iPhone to make sure he gets home okay. You shouldn't live like that. And and there are cops out there right now as we're talking, doing things which people will never ever have to deal with. And fucking put people together, put lives together, cops being assaulted during the length of this conversation. And the very people who they're doing that to protect are the same people who take them for granted and criticize them. I find it really funny when people go online and they criticize, like that person who slagged me and you off, Ben. The very reason why he was able to do that is because there's people out there right now making sure his house doesn't get broken into.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I think it's insane, and I think the work what emergency services do. I mean, it was some fucking journalist or something. I can't remember his name, but he said, if the police vanished overnight, you wouldn't notice. Oh, trust me, I bet you would. There'd be absolute anarchy on the streets, be carnage on the streets. And needless to say, this person lived in some leafy suburb of some very affluent area, so he probably never sees cops because they're not round his area. So I think there's way too much taken for granted and not paid enough. But yeah, I love how we start on one point and then we just digress and we just go. We just started off about looking people on bridges. This one, it was brilliant.
I just think this is why certain times I'm invited at certain things to talk, and other times I'm not, because again I do not hold back with anybody, and Ian knows when we're talking to Home Secretary, I don't hold back. I'll just say how it is, and I just think at the end of the day, people are too scared to say something now in case they'll upset the Home Secretary or in case they'll upset so and so. And they had that boss at Met on the other day. TV program. What were he on?
He was on LBC. I don't know whether it was the same.
Yeah, that were it.
Nick Ferrari.
Yeah. He was. Yeah, Nick Ferrari had him. Yeah. And they're on about stats where no, it's gone down. No, it's gone down. And I'm like, it fucking hasn't gone down. No, we've got this. Nope. And you're thinking, all he's referring to is all the chief constables under him and the ACCs under him and everyone have given him the stats and said, this is what's happening, boss. Crime's gone down by 40%. He wouldn't have a clue what's going on in Chapeltown, or whatever it is, Clapham High Street. He didn't have a clue what's going on in Luton. He didn't have a clue what's going on down on South Bank. He just doesn't. He sits in an office. He does not have a Scooby-Doo. And then when you're a tourist and you can see it, I've walked through, and like I said, I'm like, I don't like this anymore. And I always stay around Horse Guards where me and Ian had breakfast. I stay around there because whenever I go to Downing Street, not dropping names, but all right, kids. Hey. Whenever I go to Downing Street, I'm always in the area I need to be. Gone are the days where I'll stay wherever down at, I don't know, Charing Cross, or I'll stay somewhere else doing X, Y, and Z. I'll always stay right next to where I'm staying, so it's straight out, in hotel bar, bit of meal, bed. Gone are the days of walking around and sightseeing and stuff like that now, and I think it's a massive shame. And it could be getting a grip of so easy, but again, people just won't do it.
100%, mate. Okay. So I'll tell you what, I'll let you guys decide which one we want to talk about here. So there's one, does policing promote the right people? And then there's the other one, which talks about the degree program and is it required? Which one do you want to go for?
Both good.
Yeah.
Say that again.
They're both good, but I'd say promote the right people. Not personally, but I'll talk.
Yeah, same.
I'll talk about whatever. I don't care.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll just sum up the degree stuff. No, you don't need a degree to be a Bobby. Next. So, and you can start on this one. Are we promoting the right people, and if not, why?
So half and half. So I know some fantastic bosses. So let me speak. There's a lad called Mick Roth, ex-traffic cop. He's quite well known, quite famous from TV and stuff like that. I think we were in Interceptors. Started out when I were on traffic as well, and does North Yorkshire. I think he's now a chief inspector, maybe a superintendent. All he does is look after his staff. Great person, great Bobby. He needs to be one that's promoted. But then I've worked with certain sergeants that have been promoted to inspector, chief inspector, and I'm like, what? I know people that have not left office in like 15 years, and you see them walking around them from being a PC to an inspector, and you're thinking like, you haven't literally left the nick. You found jobs to do. Like you were the assistant map putter upper, and then you went on to awards ceremony provider, then you went on to so and so, then you went on to be an assessor, even though you never left nick. And then the fact of the matter is, so our lass has done I don't think she'll mind me speaking about this. Our lass has done her DIs, and she's passed all the DIs, and I think she's waiting for her boards. So now she's acting DI, so she's promoted. But
Congratulations.
she's
Well done.
good. Thank you. It's not to do with me, but she's a good cop. She's very good and very well thought of what she does. And I don't mean now because I don't know these people, but there'll be other people that have been promoted, and you're thinking like, why have you been promoted? Because they can pass an interview, and that's the wrong way to do it. Someone who can pass an interview and an exam on random questions where you've got to memorize these questions, then you've got to smile, nod, and answer the right questions at the right time to get a percentage, doesn't mean you're a good boss. And the amount of times when I've been to, Ian, you might back me up on this, when you've gone to a 3-car, whatever, it might be a 3-car, some or other, potential fatal injuries, one car's used in a robbery, or just been used in aggravated burglary and stuff like that, and boss comes out and looks at you with eyes like, what the fuck are we doing here then? And you're like, boss, it's down to you. It's a crime. What do you want me to do? Not to do with police, not to do with traffic now, it's a crime. Or you need to get CID out here, you know what I mean? And you can see him thinking, and you're thinking, do you want me to run this for you, boss? Oh yeah, can you do that? And if you need any PCSOs, let me know. And they'll stand at back thinking like, please don't look at me. Please don't look at me. Traffic inspector gets there, or traffic sergeant's right, do this, do that, do this, do that. And same with inspector, do this, do that, do it. But then certain B or whatever are there with eyes, and you're thinking like, because you don't have a clue, you've nodded, you've gone on about LBDGQ, you've gone on about personal resilience, you've gone on about this, someone's marked you off on a title. I've always said it should be like army or whatever it is, you should be promoted on your skill set and who you are and the jobs you've attended and how you've done. You might be a Bobby who's done 35 years on beat and you don't want to be a sergeant, but you find that every time you go into a job, you are running all the jobs for all the probationers, you're doing all the scene coordinating, but you just want to stay as a PC all your life. They should be upgraded to a sergeant. They should be upgraded to a sergeant's wage because of the work they're doing. Yeah, all right, and they might not want to do duties and handle all HR. Well, that's for the beat sergeant to do, who's in charge of the shift. But you can still be a sergeant on shift because that's your rank because of what you've done. You're like in Australia, they've got a, what's it called? Lead constable.
Yeah,
senior constable.
Yeah, there's two.
Should be a
levels,
senior constable. Yeah, more wage, more money, more pension, and more whatever you have because you're stepping up. Why should it be fair that if you've got 20 people turning out on duty, that's always you dealing with the jobs, getting to the big jobs and dealing with the scene coordination, scene preservation, liaising with X, Y, and Z, when other bobbies just step back. So those people should be always promoted on what they've done, what they've seen, where they've been, the length of service. Like I, in theory, probably could have been a sergeant stroke inspector after 19 years in traffic or so many fatals, old school fatals where you did the files, tourist events, jumpers, X, Y, and Z, Cat A escorts, motorcycle escorts with royal family, stroke prime ministers, whatever. You should be right. We're going to promote you because you're doing a lot. You're putting a lot back into the place. So we're going to up your pay, up your pension, and do this. But it's just all gone wrong. And you've got certain bobbies that are at the top of the food chain and should stay there. But the rest that don't hold the weight and don't do enough for the bobbies under them should be have their ranks pulled. They should have a certain criteria, and if they're not looking after their mental health and doing this and doing that and bringing sick back and helping these, they should you be an ACC for 6 months and knocks change, boom, you're back down, and that's how it should be.
Ian, thoughts?
Oh, the people that are getting promoted look, there's good people. There is, of course, there is. But I think there's people that are managers and there's people that are leaders, and I think there's two different things. The people that are managers are the people that are looking up and forgetting what's beneath them. The leaders are the people that you'll stand behind and go, you know what, I'll follow you. And they're thinking about, what the well-being, the welfare is. They're going out, they're talking, they're understanding, they know what the challenges are. They're willing to turn around and go, you know what are the challenges? I want to listen, I want to know, and I'm going to try and do my best for you. The managers are, well, for me to get to the next promotion, I need to make sure that these stats look better. I'll tell you now, in a force that I know reasonably well, deduce that what you want. They have now gone to a more figure-based kind of model, whereby it's gone back to you'll do X, Y, and Z, and you need to do that per month. That's not to benefit the officers. That's to benefit the leaders. Well, not leaders, sorry. The higher ranks, to turn around and say, look how we've improved. Well, what you're forgetting is a human being behind that uniform, and the impact that these things have on those people are completely forgotten. So instead of looking at it and going, well, you know what, you've passed an exam, you've been able to pass a CVS interview that like any robot could pass if you do it well enough and you do it enough. How about we actually ask you some questions about how you're going to look after your staff? How are you going to make sure that we can improve the mental health and the well-being of these officers and improve their kind of trust and confidence in the organisation? And if you can't do it, you're not going to get promoted. But we don't do it. And there's two, if you put your head above the parapet in policing, guess what? You'll get shot down. And policing and the leaders, sadly, have turned into, if you create a problem, if you highlight a problem, you become the problem. And that's a massive issue in policing, because when you've got that, you've got a scarcity model whereby no one really wants to say anything. Like the sergeant doesn't want to say anything to the inspector doesn't want to say anything to the chief inspector, and the chief inspector does not want to say anything to the superintendent. It just keeps going and going. And Ben quite rightly points out earlier, where you said the commissioner hasn't got a clue about what's going on because he isn't told what the facts are, because everyone's scared to death. The best people and the best people that get promoted are the ones that are willing to say it, but you're never going to get them to go to the top because they're just going to be weeded out. And that's you. Oh, back again. Welcome to the Christmas podcast hosted by my guest, Ben Pearson. But you know what I mean? That for me is where the problem with leadership is. There's some amazing people that want to do the right thing, but they're silenced because of the issues how policing culture is. And if you can change that, you'll get well-being and welfare right, because you'll get people coming out who are in leadership roles and going, you know what? How are you? How are things? Show a little bit of the human element, and they don't do it. They come out and they're like, well, you know what, we need to do X, Y, and Z because that's going to make the organisation look good. Forget about the organisation. Let's focus on the actual individuals that are going out there every day making you look bloody good. Make them feel good and you'll get even better.
Have you seen that when the certain people get to a certain level, it just seems to be like them and their friends getting promoted each time? Yeah. And you're thinking like, you're just like, they're in a group of superintendents and then chief superintendents, and then you'll go to one and someone go, and then they all disappear, but they all come back and they're just a group together. But I know someone, and obviously I'm not going to go into who it is, and I'm not going to go into the role. But let's say, for instance, their role is, I'm going to pick a role, firearms sergeant, firearms inspector. And that firearms inspector stroke sergeant has been told you're in charge of gun safes and vehicles. Okay? And then they've basically gone, all right, I'm in charge of gun safes and vehicles, so let me have a look at what we've got. Let me look at this. Let me go do that. And then they've come back and we might have a Volvo with an XTR33 in, which is a gun safe. But I spoke to people now and they've got an XTR34 in, which is the new model of gun safe, and it's £650 cheaper. So they'll raise this with finance, business model, and X, Y, and Z. And simple fact is they just keep getting told, get back in your box.
Yeah.
Even though you put me in charge and stuff, it's basically that people are given from above, giving job titles to lower down people, but you do what I tell you when you do it. So why are you giving me this title? Because I can give you the title, but it's my way or nothing. And again, that's not the way. If this Bob is going to be, or sergeant or inspector is going to be saving you a lot of money, you should listen. But again, They don't, like you said, it's a club. It's a very private club when you get to a certain rank.
Yeah, mate.
And the amount of people I've been told will never get past a certain rank because the face don't fit, or they don't they don't fit in the club, or they don't kiss the right ass, or they don't. And you're thinking like, but that's wrong. That person could be the best chief constable you will ever have in your life, but because their face don't fit, or they don't say the right things with the right people, there'll always be a chief inspector or a chief superintendent.
Well,
And I think this is where it's
the worst thing as well is when they promote people into these specialist like kind of roles, and these people have got no idea what they're doing. So they've come into a role and they'll go, "Oh, I don't really like traffic, but I'm now the traffic inspector." Hey, so why are you here then? You know, what benefit are you going to have to traffic as a whole and the officers? I'll tell you what, you're going to have no benefit, because all you're going to do is you're going to ruin it. You need somebody that has got an idea of what they're doing, you know, and what they can bring to the table. But the reality is they get promoted into these roles because it looks good on their resume. It looks good for their next promotion, forgetting about what
and they're
they
only going to
really
be there for a little bit as well. They're only going to be there for a little bit.
Back to what you're saying, then it's like when on my last couple of years of traffic, we had a lad called Matt Judge, brilliant copper. His hands were like the size of dinner plates. When he got into a fight, it literally just whoosh. Do you know what I mean? It was just such a nice, loving, big lad. But he were on my team as traffic, and he were a grade A traffic cop, fully qualified in every single thing you can get. Went for his sergeants, got promoted. First thing we did was kick him off and put him on beat. Then a beat sergeant was promoted in MPT, Neighbourhood Policing Team. And as soon as she was promoted, she came straight to traffic, on traffic, but had no law, no qualifications, no intoxilizer, no laser, no TPAC. And it was like, where's Matt gone? Oh, well, I've sent him. Why have you sent him MPT?
Yeah.
Well, because that's what we do. Yeah, but why? And he said, well, because that's just what we do. And then, so the new person now, you've got to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds training. They're never going to be there because they're always on courses. So you're never going to have the sergeant that you need because they've got like a 4 or 5 week advanced driving, a 2-week TPAC, a 4-week law course, that attack advisor. This, and you're just thinking like, that's where the money's gone wrong. That's where the job's gone wrong and the thought process. If you're an expert in traffic, one of the best drivers around, and you're a natural born thief taker, and you get promoted, isn't it better to leave that person in that role so they're a natural born thief taker and an expert in traffic, but now they've got a team under them that they can teach to be an expert in traffic and a natural born thief taker? And I'm just thinking like, what the fuck are you doing?
Worried about what people are going to think if it happens, or you know, what are people going to think if we promote this person within? Well, you know what, they're going to think fair play because this person is really good at the bloody job. Crazy.
Yeah.
But that's police promotion in it, Shell.
Unfortunately, what I've found in my time is it tended to be the very, very good supervisors who really cared about the staff didn't climb the ladder, because it was a case of, it was, you have to make a choice. Do I look after my staff and their mental health and their welfare, or do I look after the organisation? And the higher up the ladder they go with that, the less compassionate they become. I remember my senior leadership team used to be upstairs. So we had like a Nick, and we were all downstairs. Senior leadership were upstairs. And they used to say, our door's always open. If you want to come to our door's always open. The fuckers put an actual fucking lock on their door so you couldn't go and speak to them even if you wanted to. It's like, tell me someone more disconnected. There was a very, very good inspector who I worked with, a brilliant inspector, and they'll never go higher. Maybe they'll get chief inspector, but they'll never go higher than that. Even though if they were in the higher SLT, they would do really, really well because the priorities are right. And they were excellent at what they did as well. So not only were an excellent cop, excellent boss, and a great all-around people person, they didn't want to sell the soul to the organisation. I was also contacted by another Bobby who said that their supervisor is actually being reprimanded, in the process of being reprimanded, because they're too close to their team. So they take the team out, they do things outside of work, and like they're going to get moved and everything else. So it's like, right, okay, what kind of supervisor do you want? You want a supervisor who makes the force look good on paper. and they don't want a supervisor that pushes back on, like Ian said before about stats-based models. My force went mad on that by the end. And not only did it make cops not very happy because they weren't happy with the work they were doing, it made cops feel more robotic and made them feel more like their decisions didn't matter, because their decision maker was basically made for them by an inspector who wasn't even at the job before they even got there. But it also impacts the public as well, because the public are the ones who were on the other end of those pair of handcuffs. And if someone's being locked up for a stat to make the bosses look better, then that makes the force look better. And then they can present this false narrative to the Home Secretary or to the media, whoever, and say, look at all these arrests and everything else we're getting. Meanwhile, public satisfaction is down the toilet. So both of them can't be true at the same time. But yeah, in my opinion, when it comes to are we promoting the right people, it's to an extent, people might get promoted, but then they hit a ceiling. And then it's the people who kind of make it past that. The way how we grade them people is how well they make the force look, rather than how good they are as an actual supervisor.
Can I just jump in last bit on this? How many people have been on a team and you've either got a new sergeant that's come from patrol B MPT, from a PC to a new sergeant, or you've got a sergeant who's come to the new team as an inspector from MPT, and within the first week they're starting to discipline someone, or they've got someone their eyes on, or they've already been in office a few times, because first thing they're going to try and do is reprimand someone or serve papers and discipline someone for their own portfolio. Because within the first week or 2 weeks, new boss comes and they've already found someone on the team thinking, right, I've got them under my sights, because what I'm going to do is because we always say, have you seen new bosses come in and serve papers on so-and-so? And you're like, yeah, just newly promoted, didn't they? And you're like, yeah. And
yeah, that's why.
So they can put on their PDP or their thing of discipline this person, so I can be a good boss. And you're thinking, like, do you know what they've done? No, but I've disciplined them. And you're thinking that's again where it all goes wrong. Bobby should be disciplined for when they fuck up or do something bad. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't be disciplined because you want to make them a target so you can get on the ladder. That's wrong.
A couple of very quick fire little Christmas anecdote stories here. I once arrested a local mall Santa for assault when there were 30 kids in the queue. How do you feel about arresting Santa Claus? Imagine that.
Well, fuck him up.
Depends what he's done.
Well, they didn't go into any more context. They're a bit upset about that.
Yeah, if you want for murder, well, you know, don't let him touch the kids.
Yeah.
You know, lock him up. But if he's wanted for something that's been outstanding for about 3 or 4 bloody months, then let him see the kids, let them get their joy, and then lock him up.
And there we go. Have any of you men either locked up for murder?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the only one who hasn't. Bastard. No, never got that one. Never got that one.
If you listen to my YouTube channel, Ben Pearson 1965, now it's on there. But yeah, I locked up for murder, and he said he's going to find me.
Oh, lovely.
So yeah, whatever.
When he gets out in about 50 fucking years.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
A lad arrived. So this one's from someone in the NHS. A lad arrived in A&E with a carving fork through his hand, while his wife arrived in handcuffs. Turns out she did know about the mistress after all.
Yeah, I like that. But again, like I said, it's shouldn't fuck about, should you? Keep it in your pants. Yeah.
That was quite convincing.
It is good, isn't it? You got to admit, I've got that down to a T.
You've got that face down brilliantly. I actually start thinking, have you frozen or not? And then let Ben.
I told you about the I showed it on last one where bloke had Japanese prayer balls, you know, spring balls up his ass. I told you about that, didn't I?
No, you didn't mention that.
Yeah, when they had him in casualty, and basically casualty doctor was saying, just jump up and down, and all you could hear what ting ting, little metal bits bouncing at springs and stuff. And then by that time, there's about 30 people behind curtain, all paramedics and doctors and consultants. Just do it again for us, pal.
That's just fucking funny.
Springs going off, cha-ching.
That's just funny. How did they get in there?
I fell. Your ass.
Oh, well, I wasn't there.
I just sat on them. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Just
fell.
sat on them. So don't involve my sexual history. But I think there's still a Matchbox toy car up there somewhere.
Christmas. Here's one actually. It's quite nice. This one. The boss told us on Xmas Day, on Christmas Day, go out single crewed and go and see your families if you want, but have your radio on you and don't take the piss. I like that.
Yeah.
I used to have that all the time.
Yeah.
I think it stopped about 2006, 2007. But every time it came on or whenever it was, boss used to say, right, go home. Just have your radio on. Go have Christmas Day. What are you driving around for? What are you driving around for on Christmas Day? What are you sitting at Nick for? Go home. And if you, like you said, someone comes in, go. Who's going to moan at you when there's a police car outside your house Christmas morning? Let me guess, there'll be an auditor now. What?
Oh, yeah.
There'll be an auditor listening to this.
Well, yeah. A mate of mine told me that he turned up to someone's house and they made an appointment to make a statement on Christmas Day. So he knocked on the door Christmas morning. I know, right? Who the fuck does that? And he went, oh, I'm having my Christmas dinner. You'll have to come back later. And my mate went, I take it now or it gets closed. And the bloke went, oh, it don't matter. He was like, all right, sound. You've said that.
Why would you make that on Christmas Day?
Christmas fucking Day. God knows. God knows.
No,
right, gentlemen,
don't do things like that.
We'll do the last one. And then I will wish you both a very Merry Christmas. So, most rewarding job you've ever been to? That was one. Don't
Ian?
think too hard.
I suppose the irony, talking somebody down off a bridge, that for me was probably one of the most rewarding. In the fact that you could see that there was real turmoil there, and I truly believe if you'd got it wrong, then there'd have been a different outcome. So bizarrely though, as well, one of the most rewarding for me, and I wasn't a massive fan of them, to be honest, but I went to a domestic, and the female, you could just tell there was something just not right. And she was kind of said, yeah, everything's fine, absolutely no issue. And she was kind of tapping her leg constantly. And I don't know why, but I just kind of looked at her and I thought, that's a bit odd, that is. And as we kind of were talking, she started to kind of like lip sync that there was an issue. And it kind of transpired that was about 13, 14 years of DV that had gone on. She'd never had the confidence ever to be able to do it. And when we were taking the statement, I said, do you mind me just asking what was the catalyst after we've been out so many times, you've never, she said, I felt like that you were really listening to me and you'd spotted she said that was my trigger, me tapping my leg. She said, and you noticed it. And I think something like that, I don't know what the outcome of that was, because as a response, you just go down you and then you move on. Sometimes you go and have a job and you come back and you think, that's been worth my day, that has, because that could have just carried on and carried on. So something probably saving a life or having an influence on someone's life, but that for me was also quite impactful.
Well, you probably did save that person's life as well there as well. So good on you for picking that up. Yeah, Ben, most rewarding job.
It's hard to say after 19 years because you've got so many stuff like Ian said, talking people down, or I pulled 4 or 5 out of a burning car and stuff like that. But I don't think it's the job that always sticks in my mind was a ongoing burglary where the offender were attacking. It was like a big church door on this stately home kind of house in the middle of nowhere in Ilkley with an axe trying to get him. And woman were on phone screaming, saying her and like a 15-year-old daughter were in the house on their own. And in the background, you could hear axe going in at the door and stuff, and I was single crewed. And I raced over. He wasn't there when we got there, he'd gone. But it was just the fact of I went really quick in car, like brakes on fire by the time I got there. And it was just I skidded car up, and when I skidded car up, I left the sirens going, and I just remember these two girls, one woman and one girl, in the house and grabbed me and hugged me, but they were inconsolable. I know it sounds stupid, and I just like put my arms around them and said, "Look, it's all right, you're safe." And to me, it was just a job. I'm not being funny. We deal with this all the time, but to them, it were a bit like I'm not being funny. A bit like you, knight in shining armour. You're the Superman. And I never really understood that. It was like, yeah, some MPT come, crime date, CSI came. I just got back in car and drove off, as you do. But it's always sort of like stuck in my head of being that could have been that woman's first ever impression of the police, or that could have been the woman's first ever dealing with the officer, or when they rung 999. And you all know as a father, or we all know as fathers, that you do hope to protect your kids, but knowing that, hang on a minute, I'm in the middle of nowhere and someone's got an axe trying to force their way into the house and stuff. And to hear those sirens coming over the hill, it's taken me years. I sit down and analyse it over and over again. What first point should sirens come in? At what first point you probably could see a police car. He might have been long gone by then. But then that feeling, and that's always stuck with me, and that's one of the jobs I always think of. When I go, like Ian said, when I went home, didn't think it at the time. I didn't think it'd be years and years and years. But then the more and more, and the older you get, and the more you become a dad or whatever, I just think back sometimes and think, yeah, that's one that stuck in my mind of going, I did a good job there. I didn't have to go as fast as what I did. I didn't have to go to that job. I were quite far away. But in traffic terms, no, it's really far away, is it, Ian, when you're 155 miles an hour? But you just, sometimes there's no coming on there, and beat job comes in and you're thinking like, I can blue white to that. I'm going to go for a bit of a play. I didn't have to do it, if that makes sense. And then when I did it, I just thought, yeah, looking back now, I just think, yeah, just well worth doing job, and it's made I think it's made a big impact on their lives.
Well, yeah, I was about to say those people will remember that, and something really significant, awful, what's happened to them. You're the person who got there. You're a professional, and you helped them, and that's why we do what we do, or what we did, isn't it? And that's one thing. I mean, I've got a few what I've helped people, mainly domestics with mine, because I was very heavily into dealing with domestics. My colleagues used to think I was a fucking psychopath because I actually used to enjoy dealing with them, because what I found was on a micro level, you can really help somebody if you get a domestic right. If it's a proper nasty job and they're being controlled, coerced, assaulted, all stalked and everything. If you manage to put that bastard away and get that person a new lease of life and a fresh start, they can go on to do amazing things after that. So, yeah. Well, gentlemen, it's been amazing. Thank you very, very much for joining me tonight. Apologies, my internet has not been the best. Blame Vodafone, like I said. Ben, stop pretending to freeze. Yeah, I bet you was a bright fucking wind up when you was in, weren't you? Yeah. I wonder how many of your colleagues is going, yeah, it was all right in your bed. Well, no, lads, it's been great. And again, thank you to UK Cop Humour for allowing this and for putting it on, and thank you for everybody, not only for the questions and the submissions, but thank you for everything what you do. At times it might feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall, but society would literally crumble without you. So amazing. Make sure you follow Ben. Make sure you follow this podcast. Make sure you follow Ian if you don't already. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.